Minimum viable governance plan. That is something that we need to have some more conversations on, I think. But that requires Ava's participation to get there. Um, I will say that I am working with another group, non-Omnibor focused, although there is some possible Omnibor tie-ins, where I'm going through the process of getting them onboarded into OpenSSF. I
Hmm.
will understand that process very well in the near future. So I will create a document about what that process looks like, because that can help inform some of our future decisions as well, if that is the direction we want to take.
Would it require us to
But
rename ourselves to be a Mexican snack food?
it, I think that'd be a
It's the
fantastic
street
idea.
tacos.
Yeah, everyone gets one. By the way, street tacos in Mexico City are supposed to be pretty epic. So
You have your hand
um,
up, Dave?
Yeah, one of the other things, and we probably don't have a quorum to discuss this, but I'd like to put together an introduction and asks document for various different language communities, because we've reached out to the Open JDK group, and that kind of, Peter, we have a line into the Python community, but we don't really aren't asking for anything. And I'd really like to figure out. I'd like to have a forum. My God, I'm becoming corporate, even though I'm like not even employed. How did this happen? Um, I'd like to have a form or something that we basically say, this is the, kind of introduction and framing for the conversation we'd like to have. And that way, when we approach communities, we can shape what we're talking about and what our asks are.
I so what I'm hearing is that people are ignoring us if we're not asking them to do things.
Well, with the Python folks, we got the introduction that we wanted, but we don't have we don't have a material ask. In other words, we don't know, we're not, we don't have a foundation for a discussion.
Okay,
Mhm.
that makes sense. So so we need to have something concrete to move the conversation and say, if you make these changes, you get these benefits.
That might be the secondary ask. The primary ask is, kind of, what are you doing around supply chain? What are the issues that your community is facing? How have you been looking to approach them? And oh, by the way, kind of, what's your tolerance for adding additional features into your either interpreter or compiler or both?
Mhm.
And I think those are kind of the temperature taking, that we can basically say, okay, great, now we understand. And it may very well be that, with, for example, with OpenJDK or with Java proper, it's the Java community process that we would be going through. With Python, it's pips, or peps. Um, there are different processes that each of these communities have. How do we
Mhm.
align our asks into the processes that they have? Do they have Sherpas to help, external entities make these asks? So kind of the framing for the discussion, so that we can really optimize what we're going for in the community, rather than, hey, we know somebody, hooray. And sorry for being a little bit snarky. It's a particularly snarky day for me.
Not a problem. I think that's an important topic, because if we don't have a way to meaningfully engage with them, or a meaningful way to work in their process, and then we're going to be pretty much dead in the water. So it's important that we take the appropriate set of steps, and we adapt to make sure that we're working appropriately with these groups as effectively as we can.
Yep, that sounds about right. Do you want to add something to the agenda for that, so we have it bubble up next week when we've got a larger group of folks?
Sure. Maybe after the use case document and before updating SPDX.
That sounds perfect.
Because it seems that ordering is actually important here.
Cool. So with that, we got. See what else is. I'll wait till the agenda's done.
And so I've updated that. Feel free to munge it around, change it up. It's obviously past, 0.1.
Cool. So
Cool.
yeah, I think that's good, and I got some through some of my conversations in KubeCon, I've come across some individuals who can help us. But this is the type of material that I think that they would need in order to help them affect the right set of changes that they need as well. So specifically around groups like the JDK community and similar. Yeah, and I think the thing that one of the problems that we run into as well is that um, depending on the organization, like in the open source community, there's a particular process, but then when you start looking at the companies, often a lot of that process is not managed by the developers themselves, but are often managed by PMs that the companies involved in the open source project end up taking on to manage the overall health of the project. So it's important for us to also look at whether any groups like that are in effect, because you want their support as much as possible. Cool. So that's fantastic. Let's see what else we got. How to handle non-embedding case for artifact input manifest. Is this still a thing, or are we still having conversations on this one? And Ed, your name's on it, so you might be mute if you're saying something.
Sorry, which one was this?
Oh,
the non-draft for the
non-embedding.
non-embedding. Yeah, I had mentioned
Yeah.
before. I have not that I've not gotten done yet.
Okay, so that's part of the previous one before as well. Okay. Oh, sorry, I completely messed up. I'm having time issues. Never mind. Discussion of input roles to encode additional data in your input artifacts. Then we have two documents, but we have to come back to this when Jeremy is at a future meeting. Andrew and Jeremy are both not here, so let's skip on that one, and the next one as well, and the next one. Okay, every single one of them is like, let's come back to this, and we don't have the right people involved. So with that, again, want to remind people to do doodle poll if you're not done it already. Are there any topics that we want to discuss since we ran to the end of the agenda? I'm not hearing anything this particular time. Please, if you're going to be in Chicago during KubeCon, please let me know, and that way we can catch up. With that, I want to thank you all for your time, and we will catch you all at the same time next week. Have a good day.